Good morning, students. Today we are going to start with a new chapter. In previous chapter we have learned how there is issue of shares. In that we have learned different concepts. We have learned methods. We have learned what is allotment. We have learned what is share certificate. Then transfer of shares and transmission of shares. Now in this chapter we will learn about issue of debentures. Now debentures are what? They are the part of borrowed fund or borrowed capital. Okay, so how the issue of debentures is done. Now in this chapter there are some topics which are for self study, which I have not included. Okay, the important topics from which questions will be asked for you, that topic only I have discussed from this chapter. So whatever self study topics are there, you have to learn on your own. Okay, so here what is debentures? Okay, then when company prefer issuing debentures to raise its fund for see, company wants some fund, okay, to expand their business or to start a new project. That time what happens, here company को क्या करना पड़ता है, they have to issue the shares. Now only issue of share, there is a limit to the issue of shares. शेयर्स अगर शेयर्स को ही इशू किया तो इतना वो लोग फंड रेज नहीं कर सकते. दे हैव टू इशू सम फंड ऑल्सो, दे हैव टू borrow some fund also. Now how they can borrow the funds? In the second chapter we have learned sources of borrowed fund. So in that there is issue of debentures. Now debentures कब issue करते हैं? When they have to raise their fund for a longer period of time. That time there is issue of debentures. Now, company can make public issue of debentures only if company or its promoters or directors have not been prohibited from accessing the securities market by सेबी. ओके, कंपनी को अगर उनके सेबी ने अगर मार्केट को एक्सेस करने नहीं दिया, दैट टाइम दे कैन डू इशू पब्लिक इशू ऑफ डिबेंचर्स. Now, the company or its promoters or directors have been not declared as a willful defaulter or has not been defaulted in repaying any principal or interest or any debt securities for a period more than 6 months. Okay, there are some provisions. अगर उनके जो डायरेक्टर्स है, प्रोमोटर्स है, उनको अगर सेबी ने डिक्लेयर नहीं किया कि दे आर अ डिफॉल्टर्स, दैट टाइम दे कैन इशू डिबेंचर्स. Okay, so here in this chapter we will learn about different rules and regulations for the issue of debentures. Okay, so rules regulations governing issue of debentures. डिबेंचर्स को जब इशू करते तो उसको कौन गवर्न करता है? सो इट इज़ अकॉर्डिंग टू कंपनीज एक्ट 2013. there are some provisions which are given. Okay, it can be according to the companies act 2014 or according to the RBI guidelines and SEBI's various regulation. Depending on the types of debenture, company has to fulfill following provisions. Okay, सो डिबेंचर्स बहुत तरीके के रहते हैं. एज आई टोल्ड यू देर आर 8 टाइप्स ऑफ डिबेंचर्स. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट डिबेंचर देर आर रूल्स विच आर गिवन बाय द कंपनीज एक्ट 2013. सो विल सी द सम ऑफ द रूल्स विच आर ऑल्सो गिवन बाय सेबी ऑल्सो. कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 सेक्शन 71. So what it says, contains provision for issue of debenture. Okay, here there is a provision for issue of debentures. Next is company share and capital company shares and debentures rule 2014 rule 18. Okay, contains provision for issue of secured debenture which are secured against the assets of the company. तो ये डिबेंचर जब इशू करते हैं तो क्या क्या रूल है? देन सेबी issue and listing of debt securities regulations 2018. What it says, what is the provision? Covers provision for issue and listing of debentures which are not convertible either into wholly or partly equity shares. Okay, they cannot be converted into equity share. पूरा और आधा भी convert नहीं कर सकते. So it is applicable if debentures are issued through public offer. Okay, private placement or for listed debentures. Now this is applicable only for debentures which are issued to the public or it is done by private placement, or if the debentures are listed. As per the provisions, company has to follow disclosure requirement as applicable to public issue of equity shares. जैसे इक्विटी शेयर्स को हम लोग कैसे प्रोविजंस है डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट जो जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स है वो डिस्क्लोज करते हैं, इन द सेम वे दे हैव टू डिस्क्लोज फॉर दिस ऑल्सो. नेक्स्ट, SEBI issue of capital and disclosure requirement regulations 2009. So what they say, provisions for issue of debentures or listing of debentures that are convertible either partially or fully or optionally into listed और unlisted equity shares. अगर वो हम लोग जो debentures है वो पूरा या पार्टली हम लोग इक्विटी शेयर्स में जब कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं तो उसके लिए प्रोविजंस दिए हुए हैं सेबी ने अकॉर्डिंग टू द रेगुलेशन 2009. As per this provision, company has to follow the same disclosure norms. Okay, जो disclose करने के जो norms है, जो rules है, it should be according to the application applicable to equity share. Equity shares को कैसे हम लोग करते हैं, in the same way they have to do it over here also. Then SEBI listing obligation and disclosure requirements regulations 2015. तो अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस हमें क्या क्या प्रोविजन है. प्रोविजन विच इज लिस्टेड कंपनी इशूइंग नॉन कन्वर्टेबल डिबेंचर्स perpetual debts instrument has to be fulfilled. Okay, non convertible debentures and perpetual debts instrument उनको जब हम लोग फुलफिल करते हैं, कंपनी जब इशू करती है तो उनका प्रोविजन इज व्हाट इट प्रोविजंस रिलेटेड टू द वेरियस लिस्टिंग कंडीशन विच अ कंपनी हैज़ टू कंप्लाई विद. लिस्टिंग के जो कंडीशंस हैं उनके अकॉर्डिंग उनको प्रोविजंस फॉलो करने हैं. देन RBI guideline meant for banks which raise capital by issuing non-equity instrument. ये प्रोविजन किसके लिए है? फॉर बैंक्स विच वांट टू रेज कैपिटल बाय इशूइंग non-equity instruments. Next, provisions for issue of debentures as per Companies Act 2013, Company Share Capital and Debentures Rule 2014 and SEBI. तो उनके अकॉर्डिंग क्या क्या प्रोविजन है. नाउ विल सी अकॉर्डिंग टू द Companies Act 2013 what it says. नो वोटिंग राइट. ओके, ये कहाँ क्या बोलते हैं कि देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी वोटिंग राइट. टाइप्स ऑफ डिबेंचर्स, payment of interest and redemption, then debenture certificate, create debenture redemption reserve, appointment of debenture trustee. Debenture trustee can approach NCLT, that is National Companies Law Tribunal, then impose restrictions, punishment of contraventions of provisions of the Act, Companies Act. We will see this thing in detail. Then according this is just a map. Okay, so that map reading जो बोलते हैं हम लोग, मतलब आप लोगों का दिमाग में लेने के लिए ये मैपिंग करके रखा है. ये पॉइंट्स अगर आप लोग याद रखोगे देन यू इट विल बी वेरी इजी टू राइट फॉर द एग्जाम. एंड कंपनीज शेयर कैपिटल एंड डिबेंचर्स. ओके, अकॉर्डिंग टू द रूल 2014 व्हाट दे से tenure of secured debentures, create charge on assets, appointment of debenture trustee, create debenture redemption reserve. Okay, now according to the SEBI regulation, minimum subscription, retention of oversubscription, underwriting and credit rating. So let's see this in detail. That is provision for issue of debenture as per Companies Act 2013. Okay, उसके according क्या क्या provision है. So no voting right. कंपनी कैनॉट इशू डिबेंचर्स विद अ वोटिंग राइट. ओके, वोटिंग राइट नहीं देना चाहिए. इफ दे आर इशूइंग डिबेंचर्स देन द डिबेंचर होल्डर्स आर द क्रेडिटर्स ऑफ द कंपनी एज यू ऑल नो. सो दे शुड नॉट बी गिवन एनी वोटिंग राइट. टाइप्स ऑफ डिबेंचर. company can issue secured and unsecured debentures, fully or partly convertible debentures, or non-convertible debentures. Okay, to issue convertible debentures are what this can be converted into equity shares. To issue such equity share such convertible debentures, they have to take a special resolution in the general meeting. They have to pass a special resolution in the general meeting. Now, all these debentures, whichever are issued by the company, are redeemable. That means they will receive their capital, they will receive their amount, lended amount to the company at a time of winding up of the company or after the maturity of the debenture time. Then, payment of interest of debenture. Now, a company shall redeem the debentures and pay interest as per the terms and conditions of their issue. Then, debenture certificate. A company has to issue debenture certificate to the debenture holder within 6 months from the allotment of debenture. So 6 months के अंदर they have to issue debenture certificate. Next, create debenture redemption reserve. Okay, now company has to create debenture redemption reserve on how they will create out of the profits which are made by the company. Okay, so here this money can be used only for the redemption of debentures. अगर कोई debenture holders को अपने पैसे फिर से चाहिए, then this money can be used. Appointment of debenture trustee. Now company issues prospectus and invites more than 500 people, either can be public or its member, has to appoint one or more debenture trustee. Okay, उनको debenture trustee appoint करना पड़ता है to protect the interest of the debenture holders. To why? Because to protect the interest of the debenture holder. Then debenture trustee can approach NCLT. Okay, that is National Court of Law Tribunal. Okay, National Companies Law of Tribunal. तो उनको अप्रोच कर सकते हैं. Why? To redress the grievance. मतलब अगर डिबेंचर होल्डर्स के कोई कंप्लेंट्स है रिगार्डिंग रीपेमेंट ऑफ प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट और ऑन द मेच्योरिटी और डिफॉल्ट इन पेइंग द इंटरेस्ट, ऐसे कोई कुछ डाउट है या उनके कंप्लेन है, then company can appoint what national law tribunal to redress and direct the defaulting companies to pay the principal amount and the interest. Okay, तो ये अपॉइंट कर सकते. Then impose restrictions. There should be some restrictions also. When a debenture trustee is of the opinion that the assets of the company are insufficient or likely to become insufficient to redeem the principal amount of the debenture, then what they can do, they can appoint national companies law tribunal. Okay, in order to restrict incurring further liabilities. उनको अगर उनको पता चला है कि they won't be able to pay the principal amount because उनके जो funds हैं वो insufficient है, that time they can approach NCLT. Okay, debenture holders can appoint या debenture trustee can appoint. Then punishment for contraventions of provisions of the Companies Act. Now if a company fails to follow the provisions or comply to the provisions of the act, then they shall be payable, they should be liable to pay the fine or imprisonment or both as per the prescribed by the act. Okay, so if they do not follow the provisions, then they should be liable to pay the fine, or there can be imprisonment also, or both, pay fine as well as imprisonment if they don't follow the rules which is given by the Companies Act. Then now a provision as per share capital and debenture rule 2014, that is rule 18. Okay, according to the rule 18, what is there? Tenure of secured debentures. Now अगर वो डिबेंचर सिक्योर्ड है, that मीन्स इट शुड बी रिडीम्ड विद इन 10 years from the date of issue. Okay, 10 year के अंदर they should be issued. Then only certain companies like company engaged in infrastructure project, मैंने infrastructure projects takes time. Okay, there are companies permitted by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, central government or RBI can issue debentures for a period of 10 years but not exceeding 30 years. Okay, उनके 10 years से ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं क्योंकि infrastructure takes time. It may take 10 year also because it is a huge project. Then create charge on asset. Now company has to create charge on the assets of the company or its subsidiary company or holding company. Okay, the value of charge should be adequate to cover the entire value of debentures. जो अब डिबेंचर्स के वैल्यू है उन सब के वैल्यू को कवर करना चाहिए. सो यर देयर शुड बी चार्ज ऑन द असेट्स ऑल्सो. देन अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ डिबेंचर ट्रस्टी. Before issuing prospectus or offer letter, the company has to appoint debenture trustee. Okay, now debenture trustee क्यों appoint करते हैं? So that it protects the interest of the debenture holders. Now company they are what they are with the debenture holders. If any disputes is there, debenture trustee will take care on behalf of the debenture holders. Okay, now debenture trustee either before now company execute a debenture trust deed either before issuing prospectus or offer letters or within 60 days from the allotment of debentures. Okay, though these are some of the provision. Then is what create debenture redemption reserve. Company has to create what debenture redemption reserve on account of profits which are available for the payment of debenture. Okay, so company ने क्या करना है, थोड़ा कैपिटल साइड में रखना है एज some profit they have to keep, not capital, it is profit. Okay, profit they have to keep it aside in the debenture redemption reserve so that they will be able to pay the debenture amount at the time of redemption of the debentures. Then company has to maintain at least 25% of the outstanding debentures. Okay, उनके जो debentures के amount है it should be 25%. Then company has to invest or deposit on or before 30th April every year. Okay, a sum not less than 50% of the amount of debenture maturing during the year ending 31st March of the next year. Okay, money from this account is used for redemption of debenture. तो एवरी ईयर कंपनी ने क्या करना है, 50% रखना चाहिए इन द डिबेंचर अकाउंट. ओके, सो डैट अगर कोई डिबेंचर रिडीम हो रहा है तो दे कैन यूज फ्रॉम दिस अकाउंट. नेक्स्ट, requirement as per SEBI for issuing debentures. Minimum subscription. Okay, according to the SEBI, that is issue and listing of debt securities regulation 2008, regulation 12 states that minimum subscription collected by the company. Okay, minimum subscription from the public by issue of debenture is 75% of the base issue, that is rupees 100 crore. If the minimum subscription is not received at the entire money received should be refunded within 12 days from the date of closure of the issue. Okay, then retention of over subscription. अगर over subscription हुआ then they can retain it. Okay, a company can retain over subscription money up to maximum of 100% of the issue size. Okay, जितना issue किया उसका 100% they can retain, or any lower unit under a specified or offer letter. Okay, which is given in the offer letter or in the prospectus. Underwriting. Company can either enter into underwriting agreement with the underwriter for the public issue of debentures, or appointment of underwriter must be mentioned in the offer letter or letter of offer or in the prospectus. अगर वो underwriter मतलब खुद company नहीं करना चाहती then they can appoint underwriter. Underwriter will do on behalf of the company issue of debentures. तो वो जो underwriter है उसका नाम that should be mentioned on the offer letter or on the prospectus. Then credit rating, there are some credit rating agency which will rate the debenture. जैसे कि शेयर्स के प्राइस को कैसे हम लोग ये करते हैं, इन द सेम वे क्रेडिट ये जो ये है अपना डिबेंचर्स है उनको भी रेट किया जाता है. सो एज पर द दिस थिंग डिबेंचर्स हैज़ टू बी रेटेड इन द one or more credit rating agency. They can rate in one or more credit rating agencies. Next is the procedure for issue of debentures. Okay, what is the procedure for issue of debentures? Pass resolution in the board meeting. First क्या किया जाता है, there is a board meeting in which a resolution is passed. Hold extraordinary general meeting. अगर board meeting नहीं हुआ then they have to hold a extraordinary general meeting. फिलिंग विद द रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ कंपनीज, तो उसके बाद उसका फाइलिंग होता है, फाइलिंग विद रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ कंपनीज. ऑब्टेन क्रेडिट रेटिंग, क्रेडिट रेटिंग लेना है. आफ्टर ऑब्टेनिंग क्रेडिट रेटिंग दैट इज दे हैव टू एंटर इनटू अंडरराइटिंग एग्रीमेंट. देन इश्यू ऑफ प्रोस्पेक्टस, ऑफर लेटर और लेटर ऑफ ऑफर. देन ओपन सेपरेट बैंक अकाउंट. ओके, उसके बाद दे हैव टू ओपन अ सेपरेट बैंक अकाउंट. Then receive application money, they have to receive application money. Hold board meeting, issue debenture certificate, make entries in the register of debentures. We'll discuss this in detail. First is pass resolution in the board meeting. Now if you want to issue debentures, the first thing is what they have to pass issue resolution in the board meeting. That is, in board meeting following resolutions will have to be passed: the amount and type of debentures to be issued and the terms and conditions of the issue. Approve prospectus or offer letter or letter of offers. Then approve appointment of debenture trustee and get their written consent. Authorize board to create charge on the assets of the company. Call extraordinary general meeting for if board borrowing powers need to be increased. अगर उनको लगता है कि board के powers increase होने चाहिए, then they have to appoint a extraordinary meeting also. Authorize board to open a separate bank account for receiving money from application. This money should not be mixed with the share capital amount. Okay, there should be separate bank account for this. Then next step is what? Hold extraordinary general meeting, that is EGM. अगर कंपनी को लगता है कि उनका बोर्ड पावर बहुत कम है, देन व्हाट दे कैन डू, दे कैन कंडक्ट वन मोर EGM, that is extraordinary general meeting, wherein they can increase their board powers. Now here EGM must be held to get the shareholders approval through special resolution. Then filling with the registrar of company. Now when the issue of the debentures are done, then the copy of the, when the resolution is passed, the copy of the prospectus or letter should be registered with the board with the registrar of companies within 30 days of the board meeting. Then obtain credit rating. अगर कोई भी जैसे कि हम लोगों को शेयर्स है तो वो नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे नहीं तो बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे रेट किया जाता है. इन द सेम वे डिबेंचर्स को क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसीज रेट करती है. सो हियर कंपनी गेट्स द डिबेंचर रेटेड बाय वन और मोर क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसी. द कंपनी मस्ट बी मेंशन, दैट रेटिंग मस्ट बी मेंशन इन द prospectus, offer letter or letter of offers. Then enter into underwriting agreement. The company enters into underwriting agreement for the underwriting of the debenture issued. It can be with the bank or any other broker, those who underwrite debentures. Then issue of prospectus, letter of offer or letter of offer letter. The company issues prospectus if it is inviting public to buy the debentures. Now once the public subscribe, then what they have to do, they have to issue offer letter. Okay, if company makes private placement or letter of offer for right issue. Then open separate bank account. Company has to open a separate bank account in a scheduled bank to receive money from the applications. Okay, scheduled banks are what? Those are given permissions from the Reserve Bank of India. Then receiving application money. Now subscriber will submit their application along with the required amount to a specified bank within the time period mentioned in the prospectus or letter offer or offer letter. जितना time दिया उनके according they will submit their application money in the bank which is prescribed by the company. Then hold board meeting after issue closes. Okay, issue जब close होता है, a board meeting is held to decide and approve allotment of debentures. Board also approves creation of charge on the company's asset. Then issue of debenture certificate. The allotment procedure has to be completed within 60 days from the receipt of the application money. Okay, the company has to issue debenture certificate within 6 months from the allotment of debentures. डिबेंचर सर्टिफिकेट कब मिलता है? जब उनका अलॉटमेंट होता है विद इन 6 months. Make entries in the register of debenture holders. Now secretary has to make entries in the register of debenture holder within 7 days after the board approves the allotment. जब बोर्ड का अलॉटमेंट का अप्रूव हो जाता है कि इसको डिबेंचर होल्डर डिबेंचर इशू करने हैं, then his name should be mentioned in the register of debenture holders. However, if debentures are issued to demat account, company does not maintain register of debenture holders because demat account is what it is through online technology with the use of the internet. So यहाँ पे सारा डिटेल्स सारा जो डेटा है वो सेव हो जाता है ऑटोमेटिकली. Now for this there is no need to maintain a separate account. So with this we end the 4th chapter. Okay, it is a very small chapter because there are 2-3 things which are for self study. Okay, so यहाँ इस चैप्टर में से सिर्फ आपको इतना अच्छे से पढ़ना है और ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं वो याद रखने हैं बिकॉज दे आर वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट. योर ना डिबेंचर यहाँ पे जो इम्पोर्टेंट है वो है this provisions for issue of debenture as per Companies Act 2013, companies share capital and debenture rule 2014 and SEBI regulation. उसके बाद procedure. Okay, these things are very important in this chapter.